I have a very good friend. One was against whom I played hockey in year 12 at school, and then went to uni with her, flattered with her. She moved to South Africa. We've stayed in touch forever, and we go on walking trips together. They were celebrating, or going to celebrate, their 50th wedding anniversary in Portugal, which is where they had their honeymoon. And then COVID happened. Okay, so we'll go to Fraser Island. That's a good place. We can have a nice festive event and we can go walking. And then COVID happened. And we ended up with 6 people there for the event and 4 people to walk. We had a lovely walk. It was really, really beautiful. Took lots of photos. Had stopped for lunch in a beautiful clearing. Went off walking. And then 2 of us kind of took our time and took photos and so on. And then she said to me, "Oh, don't be too long, I'm moving on." Well, I moved on. I just have short legs. And I came to a tree down across the path. That was all right, sat on that, swung my legs over, had 2 of those. The third one, I took one look at it and went, they can get over that. There's no way I can get over something up to here. All right, I'll just walk around it. So I spotted the track on the other side to make sure I'd get back to it. And I walked around. I walked left and I walked around and I walked around and I started to come back and there were branches down. So I walked along a bit further and then I turned that way and I kept walking that way instead of that way. Well, why did I keep walking? There must have been, the track wasn't clear because I was looking for it. So there must have been leaves and branches still down on it that I didn't see. And I just walked off into the distance along what I thought was going to be a track. Probably half an hour, after about 10 minutes, I stopped and I, sort of turned around and cooeyed in each direction, nothing. So I kept walking, going, well, the track's got to be up there, it'll be all right. I stopped again 10 or 15 minutes later, did the same thing, nothing. And then at 3/4 of an hour, I went, I think I'm lost. Now, the standard thing I do when I get lost is I hang my hat up on a tree, I sit down and wait underneath it, and my partner comes and finds me. Well, you couldn't do that in this particular situation because it just wasn't possible. The stuff's this high that I'm climbing through. The trees are way up there somewhere and you can't stick a hat on them. So I yelled again and then I gave up. Pull my phone out, have a look. Oh, don't have any reception. Can't send them a text or ring them up or whatever. Yelled again, nothing. I later found out that 2 guys had come back looking for me. The only problem is that both of them are deaf. They weren't going to hear me. And not only that, but one wears a cochlear and a hearing aid. They would have been turned on. The other guy leaves his hearing aids behind when he goes walking so that he doesn't have to listen to everybody's noise. Anyhow, I went, well, there's nothing I can do. I just have to keep going. So I kept going the direction I was going, and eventually I got somewhere and I went, well, this is hopeless, going like this all the time. Fortunately, I had poles, right? So it was slow. Eventually, towards the end of the day, I came to a clearing and I went, well, it's going to get dark soon. I need to find somewhere to sleep. And in this particular part of Fraser Island, they have these wonderful big trees that are almost like, well, they're almost like boab trees, except they're not. And they were burnt out. So I found one, had a nice burnt out hollow that was big enough for me, with a tree on top so I wouldn't get wet. And I went, right, I'll just put everything in there because I don't, no, that's not true. I left my rucksack out because it had food in it, and I went, dingoes, let's put this a fair way away so that they can get to it if they need to, and they'll leave me alone. And a text came through. So I was high enough. And text came through which said, where are you? We're looking for you, where are you? And I looked at my phone and I went, oh my goodness, it's got almost no power. Now, I didn't know that if you're in an area with no reception, your phone keeps looking for it and keeps looking for it, and what you have to do is turn it off. But I didn't know that. And when I'd looked at it earlier, it had been 70%, and so it hadn't worried me. And I went, oh, there's almost nothing there. So I sent back a text saying, obviously lost, got food, got water, got clothes, got somewhere to sleep. I'll head east in the morning. Why did I pick east? Because I don't know where north, south, east or west is, but I know the sun comes up in the east. And I also knew that the beach was closest to the eastern side from where I was, and sent that off, and thank goodness they got that. My phone then failed. So I didn't have a light, I didn't have anything, so I just went, oh well, eat some food, drink some water, go to sleep. And then I saw planes going up and down, obviously where I had been, but was no longer. So that was that. Had a good sleep, didn't get bothered by anything, which reminds me, nowhere on this whole trip did I see a single dingo. I had seen one in the long, long distance when I got off a boat at one stage, but for the whole trip, I was inland. They're all along the coast where the people are, where they can get food. So I slept well, I ate well. Next day I headed east. Okay, we know the sun moves, so that's where east is. Spot things in that direction and walk from tree to tree in that direction, which I did. Then I heard planes going over, east, but further east than I was. And it's really dense. It's really dense stuff. So whenever I came to a clearing, I stopped, put everything down, waved my poles, and they didn't see me. Of course they didn't see me. So I just kept walking. I had food, I had water. It was really, really beautiful. But I couldn't take any photos because first thing in the morning I went, if I need to signal anyone, I'm going to have to use the flash on my camera. I don't know how to use the flash on my camera, which was why I hadn't done it the night before. I had to reteach myself in the morning because I never use it. So I taught myself how to do that. And that was, and I only had 50% of battery on the camera. So I went, okay, can't use the camera. So day one went along like this. Oh gosh, isn't it beautiful? Occasionally I came to an animal track, which I could just walk along, and then head back to the right direction. So that was night one. Night two, I found another clearing that also had these trees in it. And I went looking through the trees, and one of them I looked in, oh, that's a really good size. Oh, look, leaves. I wonder if that's safe. Prod, prod, prod with the pole, and out comes a great swarm of ants. All right, we'll go look for another one. I found a tree that wasn't quite as big, but it was comfortable, did all the same things, and walked on. Started to go into less rainforesty stuff and more sclerophyll type stuff, and went, oh well, this is going to be interesting. I didn't find anything to sleep in, but there was an area that was fairly flat with leaves on the ground and enough cover not to get wet. And I went, oh well, that looks like a reasonable bed. Rearrange it a bit. Put my poles right next to me in case there was anything untoward was going to happen. And heard a rustle at some stage in the morning, picked up my poles, went bang, bang. It went off, I went back to sleep. It was probably this big, but it still made a noise in the middle of the night. Now, I'm lucky. I'm an only child. I can cope with my own company. I'm not scared of the dark, and I'm not scared of being alone. So I was lucky that way. The next morning, I got up, and I hate getting up early, but I had to get up when the sun got up so I could see where east was. And got up. By this stage, I had run out of food. Oh, I kept a tiny bit for breakfast and I knew I would have to ration my water because I thought I had another night out. I thought it was further than it actually was. After getting through stuff about this high for about an hour and a half and having to pull the vines up and put them over my head so I could get through, I saw a snake. It was a nice, happy python that was all curled up like this on a rock going, I'm warming up, don't bother me, which is fine because I'm terrified of snakes. So I gave it a big berth, didn't even stop to take a photo, gave a big berth and kept walking. I later found out there were 6 poisonous snakes on Fraser Island. I'm pleased I didn't know that. So that morning I climbed up this enormous hill thinking that I had another one to go, and I got to the top and I went, oh, that's blue. That might be ocean. Why can't I see it properly? Oh, no glasses. Well, obviously a vine somewhere stole my glasses. I wasn't going back to look for it. Pulled my camera out. Fortunately, it's got a fantastic zoom. Opened it out to the zoom and went, it's ocean. So I walked on further until I could see better, and it was down a little dip and then up a little dip again. And I went, that's a tent down there. Right, that's where I'm going. Got to the tent, nobody there. Huge tent, nobody there. But there was a cart track just behind me. I followed the cart track, I found them, found their mates. And a lady, I went, and the lady pulled out her phone and said, this is you, isn't it? They gave me some fruit, they gave me bundles of water, which is what I needed, and started driving towards the police station. They didn't have any communication, did they? Halfway along, she said, okay, who do I ring? I've got 1 bar on my phone. I gave her my partner's phone number, rang out, gave her another person's phone number, that got through. No, sent a text. That's right, didn't have enough bars to ring. Sent a text to both of them, and then the cops rang her and said, "Where are you? We're coming." And I said, "Well, no, we're halfway there. We're coming." So we got met halfway. From there, they drove me to the police station. They started off all the process that they needed to start off. And then an Aboriginal ranger came in. Well, two of them came into the tent, walked in, introduced himself, and he said, "We've been out looking for you. We tried to take, they'd tried to take dogs, but there's too many animals," and they got confused. But the trackers had been out looking for me. And I had broken branches as I went, but obviously not enough and not in the right place. And he just stood there and he said, "This is your welcome back to country," and gave me a full, in his own language, a full welcome to country, and then gave me a huge hug at the end.